It's been on.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded for airing on TV. And I'd like to also ask you to silence all of your cell phones. Ms. Cather, can you do a roll call, please?
Dr. Shannon Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. John Nunes.
Yep.
Ms. Kathleen Amaral.
Here.
Dr. Carol Karafotis.
Here.
Mr. Christopher Oliver.
Mr. Oliver couldn't be with us this evening. He had a work commitment that conflicted with this. And so at this point in time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to make a comment on any of the items that are on our agenda to please step up to the podium. With the exception of school choice, we'll open the public hearing on school choice at 6:45. So if you'd like to make a comment on that, you can wait until that time. When you step up to the podium, I'd ask you to please state your name for the record. Come on up, Ms. Vieira.
Good evening. Nice to see you here in person. I know it was a rough week for you.
Thank you.
We were out without our administration for a little while as well.
I know, everybody's been sick.
Like you both, but stay a little bit away, okay? Gotta love that flu. Hi, I'm Renee Vieira, Dartmouth Educators Association, parent and also high school science teacher. This evening, I know that there are a couple of things you're going to be talking about within your the budget presentation that Mr. Kiley is going to present this evening. Just some things to keep in mind, and one of these does happen to coincide with school choice. When we think of class sizes at the high school, recognizing that we are going into a new schedule next year, and there are a lot of unknowns, the DEA recognizes that we've fortunate enough to not suffer any layoffs, and that was sort of a contractual agreement in negotiations to say we would go one school year without any changes to our staff. But not knowing what's coming in the future right now, recognizing some of it has to do with scheduling issues, so students get what they need. We do have a number of classes that are still really large in size. And when we think about the size of some of our departments and our ability to actually be able to house more teachers in some departments, that's a little bit iffy. So I'd like you to keep in mind that when we think of classes like AP English Language, Biology Honors, Marine Honors, Physics Honors, as well as Spanish 2 and 3 Honors and World History Honors, they're all 29 plus. So 29 and 30, that's quite high for some of us, especially in the way some of our science classrooms are designed. It makes it very, very cumbersome to get around. And selfishly for our biology students, myself being a biology teacher, our freshmen and sophomores, they have the biology MCAS that is a concern for them. And when they come in as freshmen, it's a little bit daunting to try to best meet the needs of 30 freshmen. So when we think about the budget for the year after, we know next year we'll have a few more knowns. Perhaps there'll be some place where we have some wiggle room. One of the departments that I've discussed with you in the past has to do with phys ed, and our numbers in phys ed are still extremely high. We lost a position to retirement, and that has not yet been replaced. And given the nature of that program, we are really in dire need of having another female phys ed teacher. We only have one, and you can't be in more than one place at a time. And lastly, I know that I have some colleagues that are going to speak to you about some other budgetary items at different levels in the district. The DEA is here to support you, and anything that we can do, please let us know. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Vieira. Anyone else like to make some comments? Please step up and state your name.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Baldwin. I'm an occupational therapist for the district.
Yep.
Since the agenda tonight is addressing the proposed 2018-2019 school budget, I just wanted to mention things to consider regarding the district proposed therapeutic elementary program that is being recommended for next year. and was mentioned at a staff meeting by Dr. Gifford on January 29th of this year. Some DEA representatives from the Quinn Building and myself have met with our administration here, and I have also met with my special ed director, Beth Townsend, to get clarifications, to answer questions about the logistics of the program and some level of understanding. While we have found out some details, there are still remaining questions and concerns that are not appropriate for today's public comment section. But specific to today's public comment about the proposed budget, we're concerned about staffing recommendation regarding this program, and especially 1 special educator and 2 teacher assistants, plus an ABA therapist, which is applied behavioral analysis therapist, 1 of those for the whole district, and 1 social worker, additional social worker for the whole district that would support this proposed program, but also support other needs within programs and schools. So depending on the grade levels and the number of students in the program, we know it's being proposed for 2 to 5th, 2nd to 5th graders. As they travel through our building here at Quinn, we wonder, will this staffing match the level of the therapeutic program and needs that we are seeking to seek this model after, to seek this program after, the model that we're seeking, a therapeutic, brain-based intervention program that's kind of modeled after a South Coast program. Secondly, the physical structures, materials, and technology needs of the proposed program need great consideration, given the therapeutic model, which has been suggested that we will be following. It's a great model. I support the model wholeheartedly. Examples include a safety area for extremely dysregulated and unsafe students, timeout transitions, and relaxation areas that are inherent already in protocols and procedures in many programs that offer this kind of model. Other budgetary consideration, for examples, are the sensory supports that I often supply to teachers and students within this building. Computer software like BoardMaker for visuals and things like that, and technology needs, printers, computers, all that type of thing. Other budgetary considerations of training costs for new and present staff members here at Quinn School and substitute teachers and teacher assistants to fully implement this therapeutic, brain-based intervention model and programming, similar to that of South Coast Collaborative, under the direction of Dr. McKerney and Dr. Plummer, who kind of have created, Dr. Plummer created the philosophy. He's well-researched, evidence-based. So as a program within a school, the school staff, all of Quinn's staff, needs to be highly trained in this model in order for us to successfully implement the needs, especially as kids are within this program and are moving throughout our building. Additional programming and planning committee concerns about highly qualified educators that would lead this program, highly qualified TAs that would be in this program, substitutes, entrance and exit criteria, inclusionary practices, and supports have been written up in a letter that will be forwarded by me to all of you sitting at the head table tonight. And we ask that you think about this, have further consideration, reflection on the content of that letter. We look forward to working with you and continuing the discussion that has already been initiated about the needs of successfully implementing this type of program within the Quinn School. Thank you.
Other comments? All right, so hearing none, we cannot yet move into the public hearing for school choice. We need to wait until 6:45 for that to happen. So I'm going to skip to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the regular session minutes of January 8th, 2018.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Nunes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and a second by Ms. Amaral. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I will abstain because I was not present. So 3 in favor and 1 abstention from me. Next, because we only have a few minutes, I'm going to skip down to the student representative report. We have a new student. Welcome to Charlotte Carrero, who is going to give us her report. And please tell us a little bit about yourself, too.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. As she said, I'm a junior at Dartmouth High. I'm involved with a couple sports teams in the high school. I'm a member of student council. I really love being a part of our school community, so I'm here to tell you a couple things that have been going on. So today, 20 students, along with our lead physical education and health teacher, Mr. Mark Gaffney, kicked off our Game Change Week of Awareness, which is working to increase awareness and eliminate relationship violence, harassment, and abuse. The program is sponsored by the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office and the New England Patriots Charitable Foundation. It is available because of Mr. Gaffney's work in securing a grant that allowed 20 of our students and Mr. Gaffney himself to be trained as MVPs, which are Mentors in Violence Prevention. So this past weekend, both of our robotics teams at Dartmouth High did outstandingly well and secured an opportunity to compete at the state level. So congratulations to all of the members of those teams and Mr. Brodsky, who is their advisor. Some Dartmouth High School students have recently been named Scholastic Art and Writing Award winners. That's 30 students actually from our school. Last week we had nearly 200 students taking the biology MCAS. They all worked very hard and put in extremely very high efforts from all of them. So over the past 2 weeks, we've also had our Semester 2 open house and program of studies evening, as well as a showcase evening for the incoming class of 2022. Both evenings were a huge success thanks to students and faculty members. National Honor Society will be hosting their annual Senior Sweetheart Dance on Wednesday, February 14th at the Senior Center. And finally, the DSMA will be hosting their annual NESBA Home Show on Saturday, February 24th, with the first color guard from Dartmouth High expected to go on around 3:15. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. I will also say I attended both of the events at the high school, and they went really well, and I heard a lot of positive feedback on them. So it was a nice job by the students who were involved, by the faculty and staff and administration who were there. All right, so we still have a few more minutes before we can open up the school choice public hearing. So why don't we pick up some of these, the resolutions? Why don't we start with the designer services for Dartmouth Memorial Stadium? Mr. Kiley, can you go ahead with that?
I can, Dr. Jenkins, thank you. So the Designer Selection Committee for the Dartmouth Memorial Stadium Review Study reviewed 8 submissions of designers and conducted interviews with 4 firms. We have recommended Weston and Sampson, who's a firm that does a lot of athletic field and site and landscape architecture, and has a great deal of capacity in-house to address all the different components of a project like this. So, with that, resolution number 18/8 is a resolution awarding contract design services for the Dartmouth Memorial Stadium renovation study. Whereas requests for proposals for design services for the Dartmouth Memorial Stadium renovation study were duly advertised and proposals received were opened at 3 p.m. Friday, January 19th, 2018. And whereas Weston and Sampson of 5 Centennial Drive, Peabody, Massachusetts, as presented, was selected by the Design Selection Committee as the most responsive, responsible, and advantageous proposal. Therefore, be it resolved that a contract for the design services for the Dartmouth Memorial Stadium renovation study for the Dartmouth Public School District be awarded to Weston and Sampson of 5 Centennial Drive, Peabody, Massachusetts, at a negotiated fee of $46,300.
So moved.
Motion and a second? Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. That's slightly under what we had budgeted for this, correct?
Correct. We have $50,000 that was voted at town meeting.
Excellent. And then the other question is, can you remind everyone, our viewers and our audience, over who was on the design selection committee?
Sure. So the Designer Selection Committee is a standing committee that is based on a school committee policy that was voted back in 2011. It is the town administrator, the superintendent, myself, and the facilities director.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Do we,
Mr. Nunes?
yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kiley, do we have a time frame on this?
Yeah, I gave them a very tight timeline to work with. So we are asking them to have a report back to us in April. That's not a lot of time to do the work that they need to do, but they're well aware of it, and they're ready to go as soon as we give them the go-ahead here.
I think it's that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll sign a contract, and then they'll start right after that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right,
you.
so at this point, we are past the 6:45 timeframe, so I would like to open up the public hearing for school choice. If anyone would like to comment on school choice, I'd like you to ask you to step up to the podium, and please state your name. Sorry I couldn't have saved you the trip, but I gotta follow those tricky laws.
Hello, hi,
Think of
Renee
all the
Vieira,
steps.
Dartmouth Educators again. So just to be able to elaborate a little bit more on school choice. As a parent in the district, I think it's important that we, support all of our students, no matter where those students are coming from. I think it's really good that our children get to know children from, in their surroundings. But I do have concerns with our class size numbers. And as a parent, I know both of my sons have been in classes that class size has been quite large. That being said, as a teacher in the district, one thing that I have noticed is that some of our classes that are for our upperclassmen, our sophomore, junior, and senior classes, we've had school choice now for 2 years. So we've had approximately, I believe we've opened up 30 seats each year, right, for freshman and sophomore years, so 15. So approximately, I don't know if it breaks out that even. And Michelle, Miss Laura, you would definitely know these numbers better than I, but it seems like some of our upper classes are starting to get a little bit larger, like in our honors that I mentioned earlier, our foreign language honors, our AP English is quite large. So I know that we can't necessarily say it's because we have, the children that we're taking in from other districts that are enrolling in those classes, but I just, still have a concern as a teacher and a parent that we try to meet the needs of the students that we have here. And that maybe, I don't know, maybe this coming year might not be a year to open school choice, and we let the high school schedule play out. It might be something we consider again next year. Those are just some thoughts, and anyone else has anything to share? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and one last thing, I'm sorry. Am I correct in understanding that the monies that come into the district, because the children from the other towns have to, they pay to attend Dartmouth, that money doesn't directly funnel back to the high school. So though I understand it's good for the town, it's good for the school district, my present understanding is that it's not like we could channel those monies to better serve the increase in students that we have at the high school, as well as students that will come up from the middle school eventually, so that we could strengthen some of the programs that we have there, or perhaps bring down some of the class sizes. Is that correct?
So it is not dedicated to the high school, you are correct, but we will have, during Mr. Kiley's presentation, we as a committee asked him to specifically single out what we're using that school choice monies for. So you'll be able to see on the slide where that money is going, because we wanted people to be able to know that. And then I'll also just follow up, right now we have 21 school choice in grade 9, 31 in grade 10, 7 in grade 11, and 1 in grade 12.
Okay.
So those are those totals for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments on school choice? I'm used as a teacher sometimes when you wait in awkward silence,
right.
people will eventually start saying something, but seeing no other takers, I will close the public hearing on school choice at 6:50. And we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our presentations and our spotlight on kids. I thank all our parents and middle school kids here who are waiting patiently. And I'll ask Mr. Doan to come on up and perhaps introduce everyone.
Thank you for inviting us here this evening. I would like to introduce, first of all, Mrs. Helen Mitchell, our Instructional Technology Specialist, as well as our students, Catherine Smith, Sorrel Lawton, Ava Ashton, Nicholas Fonseca, Jillian Larry, Gabriel Santos, And again, the students this evening would be kind of sharing a number of activities that they videotape throughout the course of their day, our day at the middle school, as well as just sharing a little bit of a hands-on activity for you as well that you will be hopefully participating in, okay, and hopefully you'll enjoy. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Mitchell.
You might have to unplug the laptop's plugged into it right now. This is the meeting that Mr. Galashaw couldn't make.
You want to get back to this?
I texted her, but she wasn't here. I can't take them. It comes out terrible. I did. I did.
She doesn't have her phone.
And you may have to play with the plug. It's a little touchy tonight. There we go. Oh. Mr. Parati's going to come out and save the day for us.
Yay.
As I always say at the concerts, the thrills of live television.
I'm just standing for moral support. I hate to admit it, but I have no idea.
Nor do I, Mr. Doan, so don't worry about it.
Thank you, Mr.
It looks good.
This is every teacher's worst nightmare, that you get up and you can't get the technology to work and everyone's staring at you
Right.
expectantly.
Oh, I know.
Start
It
sweating.
always happens.
I only say that because I have been there many times.
Always happens.
Turn it sideways.
Over the years at Dartmouth Middle School, technology has grown and become a big part of our education. We have gone from doing projects at the library on the desktops to working on Chromebooks in our classrooms almost every week. We have included new classes like digital literacy, which is based on advancing your computer skills for schoolwork.
Technology engineering has been adding new forms of technology to improve our quality of projects and activities.
The use of power tools has been added and is allowing students to build at all 3 grade levels. The use of bridge, flight, and other simulators is reinforcing engineering standards, as well as giving students a lifelike look at their work and how it would be functioning in the real world.
The new programs and tools being used are also generating interest in our schools after our school robotics and LEGO programs, so children can explore their interests even more.
Sixth grade students at DMS will be participating in a new class called World Culture, where they will be learning about not only Spanish and Portuguese, the 2 languages taken at DMS, but a broader range of countries and cultures throughout Europe.
We spoke to one of the world culture teachers, Senora Brook, to see what she had to say about it. World culture has been instrumental. It has changed in the sense that we use technology to help with the lessons and not just grading.
We asked our librarian, Mrs. Gardner, about how her job had changed when world culture and technology were introduced to her. Her response included things like, I now have more time to take care of the library. Instead of teaching library skills to the 6th graders, traveled the world culture with the foreign language teachers and digital literacy with Mr. Wolger.
Throughout the years at Dartmouth Middle School, the technology has changed tremendously. This has affected teachers in a positive manner. In the school, we have around 400 Chromebooks. This has helped strive the DMS students to expand their education. The Chromebooks allow us to have internet access without leaving the classroom. This allows teachers to be more hands-on and help the kids. And it also allows the kids to ask questions and understand the topic more. With resources like virtual reality, kids get to experience past events.
After-school programs have been evolving ceaselessly over the years, from after-school sports to library robotics. As the school continues to adopt new technology, after-school choices have expanded widely. The use of computers is greatly embraced in almost all after-school classes. In the DMS Junior Track video production, the students constantly use computers to edit film. The robotics team looks forward to using new technology in the near future to enhance their level of play.
In digital literacy, technology has substantially affected the class as a whole. Essentially, the class is teaching the resources that our school has and the ways it can help and influence the students. As we head into high school, technology will be used even more. Websites like Quizlet, Google Classroom, Google Slides, Docs, and Drive.
Aside from learning to type and using basic computer skills, computer science covers Raspberry Pi, Scratch, and Excel. In addition to this, students also learn about what makes up a computer. Without our updated technology, students would not have access to new and improved skills. Mr. Kelly says that when he started working here, there was no such thing as a smartphone. He says that technology has made communication easier and none of it was available when he started working in the school system. Having access to multiple computers helps with lessons and preparing for technological futures by using it all the time.
So Mr. Doan introduced me. I am the instructional specialist, technology specialist at the Dartmouth Middle School. And the nice thing about this position is that not only am I working with the teachers in the classroom, I'm also working with students in the classroom as well, and it's really nice to see. The students that you see here today are definitely representative of the students that they take pride and give their best in the classroom every day. And they were recommended by teachers, and they're here with me today. I have to say thank you to all of them for their patience, hard work. You can hear the technology and the changes in the volume because I was tucking them into a room and recording and pulling them places and having them record. So they're very patient, and I appreciate their work. If anybody has any questions for the students and the things that you saw, they're willing to accept questions. We also would like to put you through a little bit of a VR experience, if you don't mind. So while we're getting that, if anyone has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Trying to digest my dinner. I don't do so well with virtual reality. Any questions or comments?
Just wonderful to see that
It's,
technology.
you know, when, again, I mean, everybody knows how I am with technology, so. Thank you, Mr. Doan. You and I could write a book about what we don't know, and it would be bigger than the Bible, I think.
That's right.
But seriously, congratulations to the students and to their parents and for everything of that nature. I'd like to hear from the students what they think about it. I really would.
Please step over the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jillian Leary. I'm 8th grade, Dartmouth Middle School. I think that technology is like really helping the way that we learn in the classrooms. Like we get to go on Google Docs to like write our reports, and it's saved everywhere, as Google Docs is. And we get to go on Edpuzzle, EdPuzzle, to go watch videos and like you answer questions so that you know what you're doing. And Newsella has a ton of articles that helps us a lot. Kahoot is like, it's fun for us because we're all competitive and we get to like play against each other and we get to test like our knowledge, and it helps with the teachers. Some of them said that it helped improve the grades because we're all paying attention and we're all focused and we get mad if we lose. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Doan, one other quick question too, and maybe they can comment at the same time that they're up there. There was a slide talking about Skyping with other schools. Did we do that, and what did they?
We want to comment on that? We haven't.
Answer to that.
Sure.
Our teacher librarian, Mrs. Gardner, has connected with schools around the country, and one of which was a mystery Skype. And the mystery Skype, you weren't sure who you were going to connect with, and you had to guess. So there were questions back and forth. So you could see her classroom. She was doing this at lunchtime. And she would have a class in front of her and the screen, and a class on the screen, and you didn't know. So you had to ask them questions. It was either a yes or no question to figure out where their location was. So the slide that was shown there were answers that I was writing down so the questions could kind of zone into where the other school was from. And we were able to get one class. I think she did it probably about 10 times. There was a span of lunches that she was able to get the students through. So it was a lot of fun. It was fun for the others on the other end of the video, as well as our own students. So that's one integration that our teacher librarian has had as an impact.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. I'm Gabriela Santos. I'm also an 8th grader, and I think technology has really helped me as a person because I came from like this small little private school where the only technology we had was down the hallway, and there was 15 desktops, and they were really old. So when I came to Dartmouth Middle, it was a really big change because like every teacher had Chromebooks or like computers to really help us as students and to like answer questions better. And also with EDU puzzle, I think it's called, it's like they can insert a video and like they have certain questions that they can ask us. So without like going through the video and just being like, oh, I watched it, now we can actually like engage with like the topic we're learning about. So I think it's really helped me like better understand like what we're learning about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Any other questions?
There you go. No, that's fine.
My name is Katie Smith. I'm also in 8th grade. And I've been doing SumDog in math, which is like you just do a bunch of questions. Yeah, so you do like all these questions, and it's based on games. And so it actually really helps because you get the flow in, and it helps with the overall understanding of the topic. And it's kind of, you can do it with ELA. I think it's ELA, math, and yeah, I think that's it. But that's basically like flow, like understanding, and the overall just knowing of what you're doing through games. So it's fun. And the teachers can create like competitions. So they can set up about 250 questions, and then you can do that. It actually really helps for quizzes and tests because instead of just writing them out, you do it with games, which is more interactive and fun.
Thanks. Super.
I'm getting nervous. I'm trying to delay the actual implementation of virtual reality headsets here. I will also note too, I think, yeah, it's some of this technology too, I think was through DEF grants. I know the middle school has been really innovative in putting things in for that. And I would highly encourage, not just the middle school. Maybe the middle school would like me not to encourage anyone else, but everyone to consider putting in for these sorts of things in our next round of competition.
I got to do it before. Do you have enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie.
Do I leave my glasses on or take them off?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll see what
Depends on
happens.
how bad you see, right?
Oh, I can see.
She'll kick us in.
Thank you.
Going sliding.
Oh, wow.
We're all in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it looks like we're in, it looks like the Aztec pyramids, you know?
Yeah. We in. It's gonna be a test
Look around.
after.
It
Yeah, you
shows
look around.
Oh, my goodness.
See?
See, if you move, it's like as if
And then
you're
when I
moving.
did it in the schools, she,
We can't go to Mexico because there's snow.
What?
No.
Everyone, is there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Working?
Yeah.
So the experience, I don't know if I need to get
Wow.
closer or not. One other thing, last thing
Oh, boy.
before we start the VR is, even though we're here presenting as a piece of technology that we have, I think one important thing to let you know is that there's technology in the classroom, but the one thing that hasn't been lost is that important discussion. So that's a big part of the integration has been phenomenal for the students. That's where they are. We've kind of met them at that point, but that discussion hasn't been lost. And that's something that teachers feel strongly about. The blended So there's always one station, if not more than one station. If it's not a whole class discussion or a whole class movement, there's always one station that you're still connected with the teacher and the conversation is still happening. We firmly believe in that, so we can keep that conversation and continually going. So here's, yes.
Yes, I just have a quick question. Are all 8th graders have access to this program? Do all 8th graders get a chance to have this program?
This one here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every level does.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a sign-up sheet on our library website, so any of the teachers can sign up for the VR experience. And they
I
get to
see.
choose the experience that they, I put you in the Mayans, I believe. But there are different experiences that work well with the
Curriculum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what we do is preface it and let students know, because some students have glasses, some students may get vertigo, so we always let them know, please listen to your body. If it doesn't feel right to you, then stop and put the glasses down. So it's directed really through the teacher, so even though I'm an integrationist, the teacher really is still leading the classroom. It comes with kind of a guide, and then you'll see these little bullet points here where I can extend that understanding. The bullet points ask you as viewers to look at a particular place and focus your attention to that place, so you're not just looking around and moving too much. So I can, those of you that don't wear them, as the audience here, I can direct you and you can experience the same. I can see someone just ran away. So there's a few faces that are in. So for those students that aren't able to put the viewers up to their eyes, they're able to still see and go through the same experience as the students that others are able to. So, but I'm going to ask you to put your goggles down, your eye guards down. I'm going to switch screens. That way it doesn't make you sick. We go to new, I'm going to go, actually I need to go to this one. And then you may pick up your glasses. So again, there's a conversation, there's a guide, there are leading questions. Those of students that don't have the glasses can still experience what everyone else is seeing. So it's neat. You can look, and I'm not confusing anyone. Those of you that are here in the audience can see what I'm doing. They're looking wherever they want to look, so I'm not really spinning them over there. So it's just spinning here for those that aren't. So you can look up, you can look at the sky, you can look down. Those of you with the headsets, if you could put those down.
I went to the moon last time.
Try to get you someplace.
Warm and tropical.
Warm and tropical?
Yeah, there are thousands of experiences. I just so chose, you may pick up your headsets. And take a look around. Usually we give the students a few minutes to take a look around and maybe develop some questions that they have about what they're seeing.
Cool.
Yep. Like she said, listen to your body.
Cool, isn't it?
We're back where we started from. There was no snow.
So again, thank you for allowing us
So
this
cool.
evening to just share some of the activities and how we've been able to introduce and maximize the technologies that we have. We're very appreciative to the school department as well as our town officials for, I know, in the past few years, supporting a lot of initiatives in regards to technology. And so I can tell you that we're definitely using and maximizing everything we have, and it definitely has enriched our instruction. And so it's been very positive. And if you drop by the middle school, you will see that students as well as teachers are very engaged in using technology to further enrich the instructional piece. I don't know if there's anything further you want to ask. I'm very also thankful to our students who,
Yeah,
and
thank you
Mrs.
guys
Mitchell as
for
well,
taking the
coming
time
in
to
time.
come.
and
If anybody
going
wants
for
to come up
exhibits.
and get a picture, they're welcome to do so if they're kids.
There you go.
All set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lecturer. So cool. Thank you.
Right, and obviously, I know people have busy lives, so any parents, kids who need to get home, do homework, feed children, you're welcome to go ahead. We don't expect everyone to stay for the whole meeting. It looks like Mr. Parati's just about got that. Well, do you want to do the bus transportation while he gets that set up, Mr. Kiley, and then we'll
Okay.
jump back to the budget. So
Very good.
we're going to start with finish off the resolutions, the resolution for awarding a contract for regular and late school bus transportation services.
Thank you. So resolution number 18-7 is a resolution awarding a contract for regular and late transportation services. Whereas bid invitations for regular late transportation services were duly advertised and the bid proposals received were opened at 10 a.m. on January 23rd, 2018. And whereas the bid from the only responding bidder, Tremblay's Bus Company LLC, was reviewed and deemed to have met the published specifications, therefore be it resolved that a contract for the regular late transportation services be awarded to Tremblay's Bus Company, 284 Myrtle Street, New Bedford, Mass., based on Dartmouth Public Schools specifications dated January 8th, 2018, for the period of July 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019. The contract offered is for an initial period of 1 year, beginning July 1st, 18 through June 30th, 19, with 2 additional 1-year options to be exercised at the sole discretion of the school committee or the town of Dartmouth, for a maximum end date of June 30th, 2021, in the amount of $349.28 per route per day.
So I'll entertain a motion and then we can discuss.
So moved.
All right, so a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. I'll start. So this is the second bid in a row where we've only had one bid on the bus, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, and that's, I think I remember last time you saying this is becoming increasingly common across the Commonwealth.
It is. It is. Last time that we had this 3 years ago, we had checked around, and it was, in fact, really statewide an issue, and it continues to be. I did check around with other districts. In terms of our price, I feel that the price is competitive with what other districts are paying right now, if not better. So part of the concern that I had when I looked at this bid was that it's a sizable increase. Now, the
Can you tell us exactly?
Sure,
since we've
it's
got it per route?
it's a 17% increase.
Okay.
So from our prior contract. Now, our prior contract was a flat rate for 3 years. So not having had an increase in 3 years, I recognize that there would be a substantial increase. I was hoping like 10%, maybe, or less. But the reality is that during this time, minimum wage in Massachusetts has gone from $8 an hour to $11 an hour. It's a 37.5% increase during that time. And while bus drivers don't make minimum wage, some employees do, and there's wage scales, and that is really what the driver of this increase is. I did look at 16, ourselves and 15 other communities in the south coast of Massachusetts, and I looked at their per pupil spending last year for transportation. We were 15th out of 16, so we were getting a really good deal. So that did make me feel a little bit better
Other
about
questions?
this.
We get good bang for the buck.
I know
Your
that,
vote.
I know that some of the routes were changed because of the snow.
Yeah.
How's that affected the?
In terms of the price,
Yeah.
I don't think it's had anything substantial impact in terms of price.
They were just picking up the students closest to the school.
Yeah. So I really don't think that that's been a major issue. I mean, in terms of our routes, there's lots of things, especially the Paden Causeway, that, is impacting the length of routes. Could have a little bit of an impact on price, but not
Hopefully we'll go
substantial.
back to the old
I'm hoping.
routes,
I'm
hoping
hoping
the
soon,
causeway will
yeah.
open,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Next school year. Other questions?
No.
All right, it's unfortunate, you always hate to have to vote to approve a 17% increase, but given that we have to get our kiddos to school, there's not a lot of option here on this one. So any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that motion carries unanimously. So now, Mr. Kiley, I'll continue, you can continue. I know you have a budget presentation over there that we can go ahead and start talking about the
Great.
budget.
So Dr. Gifford and I are going to talk to you about the budget.
We are.
Skip right on. Okay. So once again, we wanted to let you know that our budget process has included discussions with, obviously, all of our buildings. We've had, each principal submitted their budget as usual and their requests. We met with them individually. We then, of course, we vet through it in central office with all the directors and everyone else, and then meet back as a team and give folks an idea of where we're going with the resources we have. And of course, we always want to make sure that we're aligning with our core beliefs and our strategic plan. So as a reminder, these are our core beliefs, and we have to say that I think our budget process over the last few years has really, really stuck to that. We've really made sure that when we're in discussions that we're talking about what do we believe together as a district and what have we come to articulate in our strategic plan, which all of you are very, very familiar with. And as a reminder, these were some of our areas. If you recall, our strategic plan is teaching and learning, access and equity, and community engagement. But we wanted to remind you about some of the things that we do. We have a lot of strength in, and the things that we're doing, and the things that we want to continue to enhance. We don't ever want to just sit and rest and say that it's all good enough. We're always looking for what more can we do to support all of our students throughout the district. So as you know, some of the things that we're proud of is our rich program of studies as far as not only our academic rigor, the AP classes, the honors classes, but also the extra programs that we have, our foreign language classes, our art programs, theater, all of that, music, etc. We are very pleased that we have our specialized programs, which of course include our PALS and PASS programs, our step-up programs, and what we're going to talk more about tonight, which has been mentioned, the proposal for the therapeutic program. We've had a huge increase in our involvement in STEM programming. You just heard about the robotics teams winning at the high school this past weekend. The robotics and engineering programs are taking off more and more at the middle school as well as the elementary through the iSTEM clubs that we've been implementing. We obviously have a full-day kindergarten. We increased our pre-K opportunities by offering another section at the Potter School. Our kids are involved in award-winning all kinds of programs. We have the Dream Far, the DECA, the Key Club. Our health and well-being, we support our PBIS programs, our RTI models to support student success. And of course, we have, I think we're very, very fortunate in this district to be able to have the number of social workers, the outreach workers, the OTs, all of these people that we have as specialists in our district. You don't see that everywhere. So to be able to continually to increase the number of folks that are serving our students, especially as we know the increase in mental health issues that we continue to see across the board. These folks are certainly critical to what we do in our district. We continue to maintain our community engagement. One highlight this year, of course, was our work with the Workforce Investment Board that helped us to secure that grant, which now is finally, some things are starting to be ordered, so that's good. And of course, we all know that our maintenance our maintenance folks do a nice job at keeping some of our buildings, which are very old, maintained to the high level that we see. One of the things that we've been doing a lot this year as well, and some of the items have to be put in the new budget, is we're really working on creating more efficiencies as far as human resources. A lot of things are going online now. So those are programs that we've had to purchase, like the kindergarten pre-K registration, but it cuts down on manpower, and it increases efficiencies and, of course, data collection, et cetera. So those are some of the things that we've been working on. And again, just a reminder of our strategic objectives, because if you look back at our original strategic plan, going back now almost 3 years ago, our focus has not changed. Our main focus has not changed. It's what happens around it and those individual action plans that are incorporated with them. And let's see. And so again, this is all our philosophy, but our core beliefs and why we do what we do and how we reallocate our resources and make the choices we make. But this is just some of them. Once again, maintaining and enriching all the quality programs that we have, technology, infrastructure, and equipment that you see. You just saw a good example of that. Enhancing the use of technology in the classroom, of course. I have to note that the middle school, if you recall, we hired those new folks last year and continuing to complete the model for instructional tech support in our different schools. And, you know, really, really important to us is to increase support for all our learners. Wherever they are, we want to be able to find supports to be able to help them and meet them where they are. And of course, we continue to focus on our social emotional learning. So with that, Mr. Kiley will talk a little bit about money, and then we'll talk about programming.
So for FY19, those numbers are a little hard to see up there, but we're proposing a budget of $43,085,964, rather. So the different categories that we have that are broken down into are instruction, which represents about 75% of our spending. That includes things like teacher salaries, principals, teacher assistants, basically the operation of the school and what goes on in the classroom and the things that support the classroom. Professional development, special education services, things like supplies and books and so forth. Other services, so that is approximately 10% of our budget. So that includes transportation, which you just voted on a good chunk of, attendance, health, athletics, and other co-curricular activities. Maintenance and other utility costs, that is about 9% of our overall budget. So that includes, obviously, utilities, maintaining the buildings, custodians, and everything we need to keep the buildings, our aging buildings, up and running. Administration is about 3% of the budget, so that includes district administration, administrative technology, legal services, things like that. Tuition, that's also about 3% of the budget. That is for out-of-district tuition. So these percentages are consistent with what we were spending in FY18. I will show you here the comparison between FY18 and FY19. So instruction increased about 3.1%. That's primarily due to contractual obligations for salary increases. Administration also just over 3% relating to contractual obligations. We had a decrease in utilities, about 2.4% decrease, which we were pleased to note that some of the energy efficiency projects that we've been working on, as well as a long-term contract for the purchase of natural gas, have allowed us to save some money going forward. Other services, again, transportation is a big piece of that, and you'll see that there's a 7% increase in that category. It is important to note that that contract is level priced for 3 years. So while it is a big hit in FY19 and it is causing some budgetary difficulties, it will be a benefit in FY20 and 21, where we have an option to renew that contract at the level price for those 2 years. Tuitions, down 4.3%, and that's largely related to the new therapeutic program that we'll talk to you about in a moment. So the budget recommendations that we wanted to highlight are that new elementary therapeutic program, which would contain 3 staff members at approximately $98,000. It would be housed here at Quinn. It would serve students in grades 2 through 5. Some of this we've already heard tonight from other folks. It would result in a savings in tuition directly from students that we project to come back into the program, but also from students who potentially could have gone out and not been able to be served in the district in the future. So there is some intrinsic value to that. The program would have, again, a special education teacher, 2 teacher assistants. It would be supported by the district social worker and the district BCBA. But as also was noted, those 2 positions will also support other programs in the district as well. We've proposed a half-time phys ed teacher at the high school to address some of the class size concerns there. We have also proposed a school year secretary at the Cushman School be converted to a full year secretary. We've noted for a number of years that we've been actually bringing someone in to try and help on a number of levels through the years, and we've expanded the preschool program, and we really need to support the Cushman School and make it successful. So our hope is to make that happen as well. We, at the bottom of the page there, as a part of this budget proposal, we are reallocating several positions. So there is a program called PASS, which I know you've heard about, at the elementary school here at Quinn, and we would be going from 3 classes of PASS down to 2. So there would be a reallocation of staff relating to that program. The high school also has 2 teacher assistants that are assigned as one-to-one teacher assistants for students who we're excited about are graduating. So those positions would also be reallocated. And as a result of all this, we actually have some openings in the district with our proposed plan. So should this plan move forward, we would be looking at having positions available for anyone who was interested, so it could apply for those positions. This is the tough list to look at. We have a lot of requests that weren't funded because of the overall budget constraints. There were $779,000 worth of requests that weren't able to be funded. That's about a 2%, just under a 2% budget increase. I won't go through every single item, but what I would say is that we have made an effort. Some of the requests were for things like social work help and for help in behavioral needs at the schools. So some of the proposal that we have for that behavioral program will definitely result in additional support for the schools in that regard. So we feel like we are addressing, to an extent that we could, some of those requests. So school choice. Some of the things that we've talked about for school choice funding, we already mentioned to you when we brought forward the capital improvement plan that we would like to incorporate the media center renovations at the high school and middle school, including the new innovation lab that Dr. Gifford just mentioned, the workforce investment grant. Some of those equipment purchases would be housed in that innovation lab in a very exciting environment that could be utilized by the whole school. So we hope to incorporate up to $250,000 of the school choice funding into those renovations. One-to-one computing. So we're in the process of developing a plan for one-to-one computing at the high school. And we would be incorporating capital improvement as well as some school choice funding to support that program. The board certified behavior analyst, again, we mentioned that already, that funding would come from school choice. We're currently, we've begun our new strength and conditioning program at the high school. So we hope to continue that program through school choice and build on it. It's just been underway recently. We have been funding some music stipends at the high school, and we hope to continue to do that through school choice funding. The iSTEM program at the elementary after-school program has been very successful, and we are currently supporting that through school choice and would like to continue to do so. And then I know I heard, I believe Mrs. Baldwin mention about, professional development needs for staff. One of the things that we are hoping to do is utilize some of the school choice funding to support professional development in a number of areas for staff. We feel that would be a nice use for the money district-wide to be able to do so, especially with consideration of some concerns over grant funding limitations in the future based on federal education policy. So those are the items that we'd like school choice to support. And I guess in summary, the process has been somewhat challenging this year. We have not built in a great deal of additions. We, in fact, overall, when you look at our base budget, basically we've incorporated some savings in tuitions, projected tuitions into the budget, and that's really all we've been able to do. We've reallocated resources to the best of our abilities to address student needs. And there's lots of information in your budget binders that I'd be happy to talk to you about as you have a chance. I know you've only gotten them Friday, so, but as we move forward through the process, we hope to discuss it more with you, and certainly be happy to do so tonight.
Why don't we start down at that end of the table and work our way back? Dr. Karafotis, do you have any questions, comments here? Or you want to pass and not have us come back to you?
I would like you to come back.
Okay, one of those nights. Ms. Amaral, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
I do. One thing I just wanted to start with is, when we talk about school choice money and funding, for instance, like staff, and if you would love to bring in a BCBA for our district, I recognize the extreme need. Clearly, it's something that we would benefit from, aside from the program, just the actual staff. However, if that is funded through school choice money, how do you project sustaining that? Because that certainly would not be something that we could risk. I mean, I would not want to risk losing that position if we were not to continue with school choice. So do you have anything to?
And I think it's a concern of ours. There's no doubt about it. We probably don't feel that we could start the new program without
Absolutely.
that. So what would happen if we couldn't fund it through school choice would mean that it would have to be in the budget. And if it's in the budget, the reality is that we're already significantly over where the town wants to allocate our funding. So I wasn't going to talk about those specifics tonight because I really wanted to talk about our plan and try and build support for that. But I'll tell you that, and it's in the budget book, it's I think tab V. We are $247,000 over where the town has us, and that's a pretty big number. Is it not V, Mr. Nunes?
It's also particularly problematic given the recent knowledge that we're going to be paying, not starting next year, but soon, another $105,000 a year to renovate Bristol Aggie, which unfortunately we didn't have much opportunity to put input, but that's got to be incorporated into budget projections, and that makes things increasingly tight because that falls under the education bucket, even though we don't get it.
Yeah, I suspect that that's probably a couple of years out.
But they still have to plan for it.
Right, there's no doubt about it. It's coming, and we don't have any say in it really, other than one vote of an entire county full of communities. So it was a near unanimous vote to get their new building, and I don't know whether they need it or not. I'm sure they do, but of course we could use some buildings too. But that's aside.
Other questions?
Well, I guess the other thing, and I don't know if this would be within your wheelhouse to discuss, just one thing that sticks out to me as concerning potentially is, we're hopeful you know, to get some, you know, say this program is agreed upon and you're hoping to sort of save some money with tuitions. So I don't know if this is something that I should direct to you, really, but I'm just thinking of due process and those sorts of concerns of parents who have children outplaced. The negotiation of bringing them back in district might not be so smooth. So I don't know, like, we could bank on that. So I'm worried about that.
No, we share that concern with you. One good thing is some of those meetings of those potential students are coming up very quickly.
Okay.
Which is.
So that dialogue could be
Yeah, the dialogue can be
started
had.
potentially.
I also want to clarify again, we're looking at this program, just so you know, it's as a continuum of services that we don't have right now. And so right now, these are students, other than the students that we're hoping to possibly bring back into the district to be able to be served here. These are students, the few, 3 or 4 that we're talking about, that our schools are working with now, that are our kids now.
Right.
They're here.
Yep.
They're in full inclusion classes. Teachers are, you know, working very hard. Administrators working very hard. We have consultants come in from South Coast, et cetera, that work with them as well. So it comes down to an option of work with them in the classroom as is now, and if it becomes so much that the district doesn't have the resources to service them, then what's the next choice? The parents or whoever, the team recommends that they be placed out. We're looking at is another place, another program, another effort to help them to hopefully make sure that they get the services that they need so that they can stay and be brought back into the full inclusion classroom. You know, and we know that at the end of that spectrum, there are those that have been then so significantly challenged with trauma that we just can't do it. We get that. But these are kids that, I mean, we have a couple, I know one right now in one of our schools that with some help with consulting and has making some really good progress in here. So that's what we're looking at it as, a continuum of our services. And you know, it also relieves the classroom as is now because our students are struggling in there, our teachers are struggling, our other students are struggling. So that's what we're looking at it as. And in the long run, to be able to stop the flow of students possibly being sent out, which would be cost effective. So that's how we're looking at it.
All right, you ready? Dr. Karafotis?
Yes.
All right.
I just have some, I think if we could put together a program that certainly could meet the needs of these students, it would be a huge plus. I think the idea of keeping them in their own district is where we would want them to be. And the way the school system is doing the PBIS and different things like that, it makes it a good environment for most of these children. My concern, though, is the placement at Quinn. And I know that's where the space is. But we have teachers at Quinn, an excellent staff who have been doing great things. But when you have these inclusion classes or you're working with special ed students, it demands a lot of extra time that sometimes a regular classroom teacher may not have to do if she doesn't have a group of students such as this. And I know that there are a number of classes at Quinn, and I think they're doing a great job. But my main concern is placing another classroom there. There's going to be a great deal of need for, like you said, staff development programs. The fact that you're going to have a multi-component group that's going to be sitting down and talking about the student. The times they have to get the parents together, the psychologists together, social workers together, teachers out of their classroom. So I just wanted to think about that a little bit more because there is such a thing as teacher burnout. And a lot of our good teachers often have a tendency to get the classes that are inclusion. And they go for it, they're up for it, but it's a big demand on teachers. So I just like that to be thought about and considered in any way we can help in that area.
Mr. Nunes?
Well, First and foremost, congratulations on a job well done. It's not easy taking all of this and having to put it all together. And I'll have a good time over the next couple of weeks pulling it apart like I always do. I get a little bit concerned only because I'm looking at the Chapter 70, the cherry sheet, and, you know, the $73,000 that they get right now. And again, I've said this before, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but we're doing this off of House 1. You've still got House Ways and Means, the Senate, to put it together, and that type of deal. I mean, right now, we've got $225,000 net to the town as an increase type of deal. The 100, you know, personally, I'm not, you know, the difference between what the town wants to give us and that type of deal, I think that'll come out. You know, I mean, I think there's room on the town side for a little wiggling. It's just a personal opinion when you look at things and such. But I go back to, and again, it's the state, and, you know, you look at the fact that we're some $1,700 per pupil under, and that's, you know, the state average, and that's $6.5 million. We would not have to have any discussions about anything tonight. It would be his, you know, here's $50 million for a budget, and we'd all be very happy and we'd move on. But that's reality, and the state, unfortunately, is not giving us their the fair share, I think, that we need sometimes. But I think it's good. I mean, I got to get a little bit more information on the new program just to get myself comfortable with it. So I'll give you a call.
Sure.
You know, after vacation, and we'll sit down and that type of deal. But, I mean, overall, I like what I see, and then we'll go forward from there.
Thank you. Could I just
Go ahead.
address one of the things that Mr. Noon said? So I know he's quick with numbers, for sure. And the state aid, if you look at it, the increase is the school choice money.
Well, I just did Chapter 70.
Oh, just Chapter 70 is
did
the
70.
73, but you also said the total net to the town was 225.
Yeah.
Of that 150.
You gotta take, and what I did is I took the cherry sheet charges
Right.
of 40
Right.
grand.
And if you look on there,
Got
it
it.
lists school choice, and school choice is 150 of the 225. The net to the town is less than $60,000 increase right now for next year, of which, you know, we do have a revenue sharing formula that we work on with town hall. The benefit to the school district of that $60,000 is about $40,000. So the state, if you look at a chart of our spending, the state is level, essentially.
Yeah.
And so any increase has to come from elsewhere. Yeah, it is a concern. It's disappointing to have that lack of support, but.
So I'll also follow up to, you know, to Mr. Nunes' point about, you know, how much we could do if we are up near the average. I know we're still doing a lot, and I do appreciate all the people who are working in the district to do that. But, you know, as I like to point out, I'm a broken record on the fact that, right, we don't have enough money. And, you know, we talk about all the things that weren't funded, but the things that the principals put forward are the things that are like absolutely necessary. They're not like the whipped cream or the cherry on top, because they know there's no way they're even gonna get those. And so I think we see, oh, well, you know, we didn't get these, but there's a lot of things that would be nice to have. And we're oftentimes relying on, I say this more for the viewers at home, on external sources of revenue to do some of the cherry on top. And it's great, right? The grant we got for workforce is gonna get some really cool equipment. Those VR things, which are great, came from DEF funding. And the teachers have been, and the administration have been great about integrating those, but it would be really nice if we, you know, if we had that sort of money so people could do that regularly and as a matter of routine. That having been said, I appreciate that there are a lot of difficult choices that we had to make here, and we're trying to do the best that we can. Like Mr. Nunes, I need to sort of wrap my brain around the new program and learn more about it. You know, and I wish we could do more and give everyone we want, but we're trying to do the best that we can here, for sure. Do you guys have any other questions or comments?
I just do. I don't want to belabor it, but in terms of the mention of the staff, like reallocation, I think it was worded, for like a reduction in staff at Quinn from the past program, would that, two parts to my question, is that thought to be the teacher for, potentially for the program? Or like the reduction in staff, I'm just trying to wrap.
Positions.
Okay.
Because you know, once something is decided, then the whole idea of how positions are posted, who applies, you know, we go through the proper process for that.
And
So in essence, we're looking at the positions remaining, but in a different form, I guess.
Okay.
I guess you could say.
Okay.
And there are contractual requirements
Sure.
that we need to follow in order
Sure.
to.
Right.
The other piece, when you mention, like, it's just an extra, ideally, like, another option for, I know, and I told Beth I had questions, I didn't really say what they were, because I want to hear everything out and read and do some research, but I wonder, maybe just put it out there in thinking through this, and maybe I could talk after about the, like, would there be an option potentially for, like, backing down on it, say, you know, we don't know if we can sustain the BCBA, but while we have the BCBA, with the money that we have potentially, could we do some really good work in building in that, just I'm putting, like, the infrastructure of the, how these positions can support the students, knowing that we may not bring some back, or we may be up against some other PD that's needed for the, you know, like for implementing like behavior plans and such. I don't know if, is the program in the classroom like just how, ideally that's what we want, but would there be some discussion around maybe, you don't want to postpone the services, but like projecting out and say, well, what can we work on this year to build up on that? Or do you have faith that with proposing the program as it is, that's where we're going to be September?
I have faith because we've been talking about this for 3 years.
Right.
So this, I don't know if you recall, we had a huge district discussion at the table when Beth brought it forward last year as a pretty good consideration. We just didn't feel we were at the right place, maybe financially, et cetera. With that said, we've also got a good collaboration with folks from South Coast that one of the people have been working consulting already throughout the district, and they've agreed, actually I even talked to the director recently, agreed that they're very excited about helping us with set up the program, make sure it's run well, make sure it, you know, that kind of thing. So those experts in the field that are already working with our district are here for us, for PD, et cetera. So I have great faith with seeing the thought that has gone into this, the contact with the consultants that has gone into this, and the need, what I already see of a few of our students that are in our schools already, that folks are struggling to service well. That seems like the next logical step.
Thank you. That's it, I promise.
Okay, and then, Mr. Kelly, can you just remind everyone the timeline, just so people have a sense of where we go from here?
Yeah. So, on our timeline as it currently stands, we would have a budget hearing, our next meeting, since we don't have a meeting till March 5th. So we would have a budget hearing on March 5th and deliberation of the school committee over the next couple of meetings, and hopefully a vote by late March. That would move it over to the town side, formally move it over. I mean, the reality is that they can't really wait for us, and we can't really wait for them, and it's, you know, everybody's got to move forward. As Mr. Noon said, we can't wait for the state to help. So it's a process that has to move forward. So if we do that, and then in April, we'd likely meet with the Finance Committee at some point and move forward from there with their recommendation to town meeting, and maybe have a joint meeting if necessary regarding the budget with the Select Board and Finance Committee. You know, things are a little probably there's some challenges at Town Hall right now. As Mr. Cressman, I went to his retirement party last week. So you know, there's definitely some changes there. Mr. Barnes has a lot on his plate, besides the budget, but I know he's working very hard on it, and he spent a lot of time with me on it at this point. And I do agree with Mr. Nunes' optimism that while we are in a supposed, you know, a deficit based on where the projections are, I really hope that we can work that out with Town Hall. I believe we can. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will come back to the budget
Thank you.
at our next meetings, and people have time to study and learn and hear some things. Next, we're going to move on. We have a fairly lengthy consent agenda, but this should move fairly quickly. Do we want to take them one by one quickly, or do you want to do them all at once? One by one. All right, so let's start with
Maybe easiest, there's too many of them.
the DHS Indoor Color Guard request permission to attend the WGI Regional Competition in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, from March 17th through March 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Do we have any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Next, we have a request from the DHS Indoor Color Guard for permission to attend the WGI World Championships with the Varsity Color Guard in Dayton, Ohio, from April 10th through April 15th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Next, the DHS Indoor Percussion Dance Team requests permission to attend and compete in the WGI World Championships in Dayton, Ohio, April 18th to April 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Mr. Nunes, and a second by Dr. Karafotis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that one carries unanimously. They're really busy over at the high school. All right, we're still going here. The DHS Unified Arts Department requests permission to visit New York City on March 23rd, 2018.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nunes,
Second.
second by Ms. Amaral. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right, next, we have the DHS request permission to attend the Massachusetts YMCA Youth and Government Annual Model Government Conference in Boston from March 21st through March 23rd.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Nunes.
Thank
have
you,
a
Madam.
question.
Yeah, I do. More so, not a question, but more a statement. I had the privilege not only of chaperoning when they were down to Seacrest in January, but also, you know, helping to judge the competition and, you know, being there for the awards that were handed out. I mean, Mrs. Kane has given us a list of the students that are headed there, and I think we have to be very proud of our students, where they placed, what, you know, the different categories and everything else. I know, seeing there as a judge, I think I had one of our groups of students come
So
through.
we're on the government one now. We're not on DECA yet.
Did I I'm sorry, my fault.
That's all right.
Nope,
That's all right. I was
agree.
just like, I was just a little confused, so.
Okay, never
Right
mind.
now, we're doing the youth and government one.
I'm sorry, my fault.
That's all right, but you can keep going. Why don't you finish
No,
that
go
thought?
ahead.
and
No,
we'll-
no,
okay.
no, go ahead.
So the youth and government, any
Sorry.
further discussion?
No.
All right, hearing none, all in favor?
goofed.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that carries unanimously. All right, now let's move the permission to attend the annual DECA Career Development Conference in Boston. That one's also in Boston. That's
Yeah.
why, March 8th to
That's
March
where I
10th.
got messed up.
Yes. Want to
Me.
move? You want to so move it?
Yeah.
All right, and a second?
Who's
All
on
right,
first?
so we had a motion by Mr. Nunes, second by Dr. Karafotis. Now, Mr. Nunes, you get to go. Sorry to interrupt. Keep
No,
going, because
that's
you were about
fine.
to talk about the students,
No,
so
I mean,
please
but
do.
Seriously, I mean, watching the awards, you know, there were some 600 students that participated from, you know, the 9 schools, and, you know, they're all friends, they all end up being friends with each other, and they're all rooting for each other, and the camaraderie and, you know, the cheering that goes on is really great to see. And I think probably the highlight you know, for myself, and I know my wife also chaperoned and judged, was, you know, Thursday morning in the awards, they had a couple of schools in the unified section and that, and the students that were there, when they started calling up the students from the unified schools that were there, the other participants gave them a standing ovation, and, you know, the kids really loved it, and it was just really great to see, and I do wish our students, well, I know, again, they performed admirably, and, you know, the medals that we won, and the medal, you know, I mean, some kids are out of there with, you know, 2 and 3 medals and a couple of trophies, and it's really great to see. So, my congrats. Sorry.
That's all right.
I had in the class.
That's all right.
I had him.
All right, so any further comments or questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right, so next on our agenda, we're going to move to old business. And the old business is the school committee meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. We have some proposed dates, but I also think that we need to revisit some of our, I know you said June 11th doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work for me.
For
I'm
you,
gonna-
right.
I'm going to be out of town at a conference, I know that.
Looking at my calendar, I also wanted to look at, I know our next scheduled meeting is the 5th.
Yeah.
I have something that has come up for work that I need to attend, and I'm wondering if we could move that, or you can just meet without me.
Why don't we, why don't,
Or is
yeah.
it too soon, too late with
No.
budget?
why don't we move to the 12th,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then take the one that we're going to have on the 9th. I mean, do we want to go back-to-back weeks and meet the 19th, or do we want to move like the 19th to the 26th of March? Does that work?
I'm looking at Mr. Kiley,
I'm
because
looking
I
at
want to,
Mr.
I know
Kiley
it's,
and Dr.
this is
Gifford.
Yeah, I'm looking
budget.
at budget line.
Well,
but
that's
as
what I'm-
long as-
So from the budget hearing perspective,
Yeah.
we need a week in between to,
Okay, so,
Mhm.
so
So we're
if we,
okay.
Okay.
so if we went to, you want to go the 12th and the 19th, I'm okay with
Sure.
that, or you want to go the 12th and the 26th?
Let's do the 12th and the 26th, if
Mhm.
that works
could
for
go-
everyone,
does that
because then
work?
if there's
That's
something that
okay.
comes up, we have a
Yeah.
little bit more time to deal with it.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've got, the other proposed dates are April 9th,
12 and.
April 30th, May 11th, May 14th, June 11th, and July 9th.
Yep.
So those work for me, but the 11th does not work for Mr. Nunes, so we could, but we
again-
could see if we could change that. We could either go June, when is town meeting?
June
The
5th.
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 So do we want to do June 4th in case there's anything, or no?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, so we could do then, that would be the Monday after the 11th is June 18th.
I would be just, school would be over, because we're having no more snow.
Right,
Yeah, so does that work?
because when would, at this,
The 15th at this point is the end of school. It's a Friday. We cannot go to Monday.
no, that's fine. So that would make 14th graduation, middle school graduation.
Oh, middle school.
Would be the 14th, so we'd still be good there.
All right, so can we move that date, instead of June 11th, we'll do June
19th,
18th?
18th, I'm sorry.
That work for everyone?
Mm-hmm. 18.
Yep, okay,
And then July 9th works, right?
yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Okay. So just to review, we've
Yeah.
got basically coming up 3/12, 3/26, 4/9, 4/30, 5/14, 6/18, and 7/9.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Mr. Kiley, when you have warrants, yell.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda for old business is the capital improvement plan. Mr. Kiley.
Thought I was done for the day. So, capital improvement plan, seems like a while ago, but we did have some discussion at the last school committee meeting regarding it. Nothing has changed in terms of the recommendations for it. At this point, we have a meeting tomorrow regarding some energy efficiency hopes with Eversource. at Town Hall, so hopefully we'll get an idea of some improvements we can do in that front. But the recommendations of, our recommendations have still stayed the same as they were last time. I'd be happy to discuss it some more or answer any questions you might have.
Go ahead, Mr. Nunes.
And again, I realize I'm a broken record, but so be it. The potential, has there been any discussion or comments from either the Finance Committee or Town Hall with regards to repurposing some of those bonding proceeds? Or bonding authorization, let me rephrase that.
There has been a bit of discussion at Town Hall regarding that. Obviously, it would require a vote to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta go back through town meeting, I got.
Yeah, so at this point, they are trying to consider it through the capital improvement process in the way that they normally would in terms of our proposals. Principally, you're talking about the stadium.
Yeah.
One of the things that they have thrown out there about the stadium is, could we accept some partial funding? And look at phasing, which isn't what you're asking. You're
Right,
asking
yeah.
for, let's just borrow it, since we already voted to borrow for something else.
Right.
I don't know that they're gonna be, they're gonna be willing to move forward with that at this point. We have not met with the Capital Improvement Planning Committee at all. But I would anticipate that if you were to vote on this plan, we would have a meeting pretty quickly,
Yeah.
hopefully, to start to talk about that officially.
So, I mean, it's interesting because at town meeting, they often reallocate excess bonding capacity for a project, so I would hope that they could do that, and, I mean, we do have a good working relationship with the town, but I'm starting to get a little frustrated on the whole stadium thing, because we had this whole big meeting where everyone agreed that it ought to be a priority, yet I get that money's tight, but there still seems to be a lot of resistance to this project, from what I've been hearing from different sort of sources and avenues, and so I would hope that we could move forward with this, because it is a priority, and it is pretty desperately needed, for lots of reasons, not just for the schools, right? For a lot of our youth sports leagues use those fields, and.
Everything just everything in general, and the fact that the other schools that come here are like, I come from my school, which has, a brand-new artificial turf and fantastic lighting to, by the time you come here in November, it's.
Some of the coaches say that's their secret weapon, their secret winning weapon, because no one knows how to play on our field. It's so bad, but I don't think that's the way we really want to win. No.
I've said it before, God bless Alan Braley for what he does on that field.
Yes.
So.
And it's truly, I mean, it's just something that would bring us so much pride. You're not just talking for the athletes, I've got athletes, but then it's for those avid community fans. I mean, it's for everyone to come, whether you're playing or you're observing.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I hope we can move that one forward. Are there any other questions, comments? So do you want a motion for us this evening to move this forward? Is that what you're looking for us,
Yes,
Mr. Kylie?
please.
Okay.
Madam
ahead.
Chair, make a motion that we approve the capital improvement plan of $2,215,000 as presented by the administration for expenditures for fiscal 19, and the plan for fiscal 19 through fiscal 23.
I second that motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead, Mr.
one.
Nunes.
If by chance we're able to move this 1.4, I'd like the ability to come back and kind of re-emphasize some things. 2021, that type of deal, and bring it back into, even if it's just some of the small items. Okay.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that motion carries unanimously. All right, next up, we're moving on to new business. And so we had our public hearing on school choice, and so we'll have some discussion here. I know Mr. Oliver cannot be here this evening, and because of his work commitment, and I know I talked to him that he wanted to be here to say a few things. So I do want to have a discussion about that now, but I also want to get a sense of whether we want to postpone until Mr. Oliver is here and can also have his say and vote on this. So first I'll take sort of comments from the committee. Anyone want to say anything? Mr. Nunes, we'll start there here.
That's fine. I'm
I put Dr.
Like our
Karafotis on the
photos
spot last time,
With the
so now
budget,
we'll
sure,
put
that's
you
fine.
on
No,
the spot.
that's fine, thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna change my vote. I'm not gonna be a broken record. Everybody knows where I stand on this, but I agree with you, Madam Chair, that if at all possible, we should have a full committee to vote on this, just for that, because of the type of vote that it is. I'm just, again, as I've said before, I'm not one that's in favor of it. I never have been. With all due respect to everybody in the audience, and teachers and parents and, community members out there and everything else, no, you're not, you're 500 people at a meeting, and I'm exaggerating, and I apologize, but, no, you don't sway my vote, because this is the way I've always been. I've always voted this way, so, I'm not gonna change my vote, but I do think, in all seriousness, that this is a type of vote that requires, if at all possible, a full committee and such, so it's, so I for one have no objections to waiting until, now March 12th.
Okay.
For a vote on this.
Okay. Ms. Amaral.
Quite honestly, I think it does deserve a full board. Even to this moment, I'm not exactly sure, let's be clear about that, how I'm gonna vote. I mean, there are items that we certainly just rely on in the wonderful projects and things that could be funded by school choice, but Renee made a great point. We have the schedule change happening at the high school. Is that going to affect class size? I understand the class sizes. I did some research into that. But yeah, I do, no matter what I feel, whichever way I'm leaning, I think it does deserve a full board. And I would like to wait until our next meeting, if at all possible, if we all agree. So.
Okay, Dr. Karafotis?
I'm in agreement with that. I would only like to have a better understanding of the enrollments at the high school as we look toward the new year. There may be class sizes that are large, but to what extent are they caused by school choice students? That is something we don't know.
Well, I gave you, as I was going to mention.
I want to
Yep.
comment on that a little.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
and particularly, right, not to single, Ms. Vieira did bring up the biology enrollments, and part of this is driven by scheduling choices of our students and staffing choices.
Right.
And, I just did some quick math. I can do some numbers too, like Mr. Nunes. But if you look, we do have 3 honors bios that are at 30, but we also have 3 bio college preps that are at 17, 16,
Right.
and there's a 19.
Yeah.
So there's 4 that are small. You could take those and make them 3 and make them slightly bigger. And so it's about student choicing and how we can put the schedules together in ways that honor what students want.
Right.
We always have some classes that are bigger.
Always.
And some classes that are smaller. And in particular, we don't want to shut our students out of taking honors courses. And so I know that our high school administration is looking at enrollments and working on that, and we're trying to address some of the PE concerns. But part of this is driven by student choice, and it's about us giving students what they want. And so I do think it might be helpful if we decide to do a postponement to maybe get some sense. My understanding, I attended both of the sessions. We'll have a little bit of sense of sort of where student schedules are by when we get into March. And so we might be able to give some sense of that. I know they're just starting to wrap their brain around class choices and all of that sort of stuff. So maybe a delay would be good for also for that perspective to see where we stand just a little bit. I know you guys, no pressure, I know you're not gonna be done by then. But, I mean, it really is driven by student choice. And so we do have, some of these graphs, maybe we might present some of this next time about sort of the distribution of class sizes. And while we have a few, there's graphs, some outliers, not huge. We also said some outliers on the really, really small end. And in fact, it's, a little bit skewed that way, right? It's got a long tail. I can never remember left skewed, right skewed, but it's got a long tail to the left. So, I think that's important to keep in mind that it's always going to be like that.
Right.
Regardless of school choice.
Right.
I'm sorry, I may have said what you were gonna say, but
Yeah,
I think it's important that we address that issue.
Exactly, and so we did give you the class, all of the classes, and in the parentheses next to each one tells the number of school choice students that are in the class.
So that's not the number of sections, right?
No, those
Okay.
are the number of students. So
Okay.
if someone says we have a class of 30 with 1 million school choice, there might be 2 students, or,
Okay.
a class of 25 has 2 students that are school choice, or 1. So I wanted to be really clear with the data, because like Dr. Jenkins said, classes are what they are, and then you have some of 12, an 8, an 11, a 17, so it runs the gamut. And again, we continue you have this green one, the transition from 8th to 9th grade, even with the school choice, we still are down a number of 70 students. That, going back to capacity from way back in the day, I guess. So I just wanted to make sure that you were clear on the data. So because it's easy to say. Yeah, right, we just passed it out tonight. Class size is XYZ, but that's the data.
Thank you for compiling this.
You're welcome.
This is like-
Okay, that's good too. I think it'll give us a chance
You can look
to
it over,
look at this and
exactly.
wrap our brain around it. So I don't think, we don't need to make a motion to table. So we're just gonna push that onto the
Next
agenda for our
time.
next meeting for Mr. Oliver. Hopefully he'll be able to make that. We changed the date and we didn't ask him, but we're gonna have to tell him he has to make that one. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the 2017 annual report. Dr. Gifford,
You
is it
just accept that, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Job well done. There's a lot of work.
It takes a lot of work. All the departments put a lot into that, for sure.
Yeah.
Great to have.
All right, so a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so I have a motion from Mr. Nunes. A second from Dr. Karafotis. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that motion carries unanimously. Next, we're gonna look at the 2018-19 calendar. All right, is it Ms. Roy or Dr. Gifford?
The one thing I would just like you to ignore for tonight, just if it's okay, where the blocks are.
Yeah.
Those are going to be our half-days, our
Okay.
professional development days. But you can see, for example, in April, we have 2 identified. We were looking at MCAS.
Okay.
So if you just approve the calendar, starting and, stop date, and then we'll fill in the half-days later before it goes up to print, so.
Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit of a nudge here to ask a question,
right.
but, all right, January 2nd, I'm looking at the other parent on the committee. I don't know about principals, like, it just seems like everyone's up a little bit later than normal on the 31st. And then you have the first, and I don't know if the second, but for us, for our family, I don't know about yours, Pizzero, January 2nd is a train wreck. They're exhausted. They're totally exhausted, and so I don't wonder. I don't know if it's just me. So I'm seeing some people say, I don't wonder if maybe just that one extra day, and also for families that are traveling, right? If you go away, like we went away this to see family.
I think it's a great idea.
And so it was really hard for us to get back, because of that. So I'm just wondering if we could maybe start on January 3rd?
I think that's a great idea.
That's what the committee wants. That sounds good to me.
I don't know what everyone else has thought. This is just me. I'm speaking from personal experience.
It is nice for
I think probably all
traveling.
the teachers would agree. We're all just tired on the
That's
second.
fine, because if you look the last day, of course, with the 180, it's a Monday. So it still gives us time.
Okay.
you know.
So that would be
push it
great,
out to
that January we would start
with
on
me.
the 3rd instead of the 2nd.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm gonna- I'll acquiesce.
Good thinking.
My kids are going to be so excited. They're always mad that I have to come to meetings, and now I'm going to say, I got you an extra day after New Year's Eve. Not that they're up that late, but. All right, any other questions or comments about the calendar?
Look at it on the flip side, is next year, when we're doing this for 20, all right, if we don't have to, we might as well just wait till the Monday, because why bring come back?
Right.
That's
Why
right.
come back
That's
Friday?
right.
That'll be the
Okay.
big question, we'll
So
see.
that'll be, that would
I like
be the
it.
no-brainer.
Right. So, any other questions or
Now,
comments?
make a motion, we approve the 2018-2019 school calendar with the Christmas break extending to, starting on Thursday, January 3rd, 2019.
We'll ask Ms. Genther to have the minutes reflect the politically correct winter break. We will extend the winter break.
Yeah.
But I will entertain a second on that motion. All right, so we have a second from Dr. Karavotis. No one's ever accused Mr. Nunes of being about politically correct, right? All right, so any other discussion? No. All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right, so next we have Food Service Director of School Nutrition. Just when you think you're done, Mr. Kiley.
Right.
You're back on.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So, I've had the opportunity to begin to investigate a food service director position for the district. In this case, we're calling it Director of School Nutrition. I've visited some programs, talked to some people, and I think that the time would be right for us to move forward with hiring a Director of School Nutrition beginning next school year. I think that our food service program could sorely use a boost and needs that expertise. And I think the time is right to do it. And the program itself is sustaining itself fairly well, but from a financial perspective, so I would expect that it could support this, and that I think that this position would also increase participation in the program in the district and certainly be good for kids. So that's my hope. I would like to note that I'm going to consider looking at trying to partner with another school district and looking at that model as a possibility. So it may not be a full-time role in Dartmouth, but from where we are right now, where we really don't have that expertise in-house, I think part-time expertise might be a good way to start.
Sure.
So.
Questions?
My only question was whether or not we were going to try to go with another community, and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I would just ask, I suspect that you've accounted for this in the budget proposal?
So.
Ballpark-ish?
So I believe that we can fund this through the food service program.
Okay, all right, great. Which is really good to see. I mean, for years, that program has been struggling, and
Yep.
we had looked at all sorts of options, and so it's good to see it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think this would be a good next step.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All right,
Can I
so,
just ask,
go ahead.
what's been the big change that now the program is supporting itself?
Well, really, the change, in collective bargaining several years ago, we made some adjustments in terms of the staffing levels at the schools, and that really was a big factor in terms of the overall health of the program, so financially. So, but we hope to build on that and, you know, not just look at this as a financial program. We really want to look at what are we providing and can we do better, and
Right.
can we get
That's
kids
right.
excited about school lunch on a daily basis, and hopefully get a lot more of them participating and provide better food for them too. And I think we can, but I think that requires some level of expertise that
Yeah.
we don't have
Right.
in-house. Our folks are great. The people who work in the schools are great, but we, you know, haven't had someone with food service management
I mean, there are
experience
college
in a long
degrees
time.
in food service
Right.
management
Yeah,
and
it's a
all
big
of
deal.
this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a field of expertise, right,
Yes,
which
it
we don't
is.
have.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm excited about it.
All right, so any further questions or discussion? So entertain a motion to authorize
So moved.
the hiring of a school nutrition director. We have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that motion
Thank you.
carries unanimously. That's good news. All right, next we have,
I really don't have much.
Gifford.
She went to town and had all those notes, so, thank you, Charlotte.
Yes.
Nice job.
we like to highlight all the good things that are going on. All right, so just real briefly, I did mention the Dartmouth Education Foundation. I just want to let all our administrators or teachers know that we're meeting this week, and we hope to open the grant process soon. We're going 21st century. You're going to be able to apply online now. So we will get the word out to you shortly, because we're excited to fund another round of interesting things in the schools. Any other comments, questions?
Just one
Mr.
moment.
Nunes?
I just want, and I thank Charlotte for, talking about our upcoming NESBA Home Show on the 24th, but there's 44 groups competing. We've got, starting at 2 o'clock, our JV color guide is going to be on just after 3. Our winter color guide is on at just after 5, and our indoor percussion is on at 9 o'clock at night. So it's a long day, but
Wow.
if you get an opportunity to come out and see all of these groups perform, very well worth it and highly recommended. That's all I have.
And I'll just quickly, on Thursday, the CPAC and the Special Ed Department are collaborating to bring a really exciting presentation, actually 2 presentations. Charity Bell, she's the Director of Training for the Department of Mental Health, and for those parents out there and teachers who work diligently at supporting these amazing students that just have lots of difficulties. She just really puts a lens on those strategies to sustain yourself in the work. You talk about teacher burnout. Charity is wonderfully engaging, and I encourage everyone to anyone that's working with children every day, to come on out. 4 o'clock here at Quinn is the first presentation. That one's geared more towards professional, teachers and support staff. And then at 6, she will do a second presentation more geared toward that caretaker parent role. So encourage everyone to come on out Thursday.
Great. Thank you. All right, and so then I will remind everyone that our next meeting is scheduled for March 12th. And then I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session, not to return to open session to discuss strategy with respect to personnel matters.
So moved, Madam Chair.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Ms. Ginther, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Dr. Jenkins?
Yes.
John Nunes?
Yes.
Kathleen Amaral?
Yes.
Dr. Karafotis?
Yes.